So thank you all for joining us today. Welcome everyone to PureEsperanza's webinar this evening. It's actually an interview with Maya Boston tonight, and I'll be introducing you to her in just one moment. I wanted to just share with you that this is part of many different events and webinars that we offer at PureEsperanza. PureEsperanza is a nonprofit organization dedicated to bringing forth consciousness while educating body, mind, and soul in the art of well-being. And this evening, we have a special opportunity to share some time with Maya Boston, who is our esteemed guest, and we're so honored that she can be here with us all the way from Australia. So a good morning to you, Maya. And tonight's topic is a journey, a healing sound journey. So we are really honored to be able to share with you this evening for me, morning for Maya, about this modality of healing and how we can work with it in our daily practices and in our well-being overall. Maya comes to us as a transformation guide, also a gong sound facilitator, and a light language channel. She's also a best-selling author and has been doing this work for several decades now. And so, Maya, I would love for you to share with us a little bit about your background, how you got interested with sound and gongs. And I'm sure that they will find this all so very fascinating as I did when I first met you. So thank you again for being here. It's an honor.
Thank you, Esperanza. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And thank you to all the listeners that are joining us here today. I'm so honoured to be here and to be with you all. And wow, the sound healing journey that started for me probably about 16 years ago. And it was basically just listening to my heart. For the first time in my life, I heard the sounds of the gongs, and I didn't know what it was. And I thought I need to check it out, because what it did, it literally struck a chord inside of me when I first heard these sounds. And I went in search of what is that, what makes that sound, and how can I get more of it. And so when I had my first session, I knew that I would be doing sound for the rest of my life. That was my purpose. And within a very short space of time, I became a business partner with the practitioner that introduced me to the gongs. And within a very short time after that, I left the business and decided to go and follow my own path. So sound healing is what people normally call it. I'm not really sure about the healing word, because I don't do the healing. The people who are listening to the sound do the healing. I'm just a facilitator of a space in which the client, the listener, feels safe and allows themselves they open themselves up to the sound. And why does sound work so well with us? Well, first of all, we know that water is a very good conductor of sound, and the human body is more than 80% water. So this is why we're so receptive to sound. And sound really works in the human body by stimulating with the vibrations of the sound. It stimulates and balances through the energy centers, the chakras, and through our meridian system. And so this is a very painless and non-invasive type of therapy. And it allows for many things to happen in the body. So first of all, the body starts to go into a response of relaxation. And then if we're choosing to go into a deep, if you like, meditation or an introspective time, because the body's already relaxed, we can go a little bit deeper within, and it stimulates anything in the body that needs to be released. So where during the time that the sound is playing, the gongs are playing, things that tensions or resistances, or some people call them blockages, start to be vibrated and loosened up to be released out of the body. Sound therapy is also known to reduce the heart rate, and therefore it lowers blood pressure on a physical level. It releases endorphins in the brain, which allow us to manage pain if somebody is suffering from chronic pain. It really starts to create profound changes in the chemistry of the brain. And it even, there are reports that say that the sound therapy speeds up the recovery time after an illness or after surgery. And I know I've worked the last 5 years with cancer patients, and I know that all of those things I've seen because they've been reported back to me by the people who have been coming to my sound therapy sessions who have had cancer. So pain management, relaxation, I mean, it's all there for us, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And you know, that's I think one of the things that I think is very interesting for a lot of people, because oftentimes when people are associating a type of therapy, they're thinking about what they're going to have to do, and you know, that exploration that they're going to do within themselves. And as you had mentioned, this is something that's so non-invasive. It's something that you can relax into. What I love about it is that, you know, in whatever place in consciousness you are, or whatever focus you have in life, by just being brought into that exposure, that environment of the sound, there is a change that begins to happen. So I know you had mentioned different bits about when you're using gongs, how you're using them. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Because I know there's so much information out there, and it's so easy to get, you know, kind of overwhelmed with which is the right way, or which, you know, what works or doesn't work. And maybe you can share with us, Maya, just a little bit about how it is that we can work specifically and uniquely with our own body and our energy centers, and what you do as a facilitator to help with that.
Okay, so when I'll explain a bit about my own process, because I don't know how other practitioners do it. I just know how I do it. And for me, in the beginning, when I first started to work with gongs, there wasn't a teacher as such. I mean, I was put in front of a set of gongs, of 3 gongs, and I was asked to just demonstrate how I would play gongs. And in that moment, what happened for me was that I realized all of a sudden my arms started to move after I picked up the mallets, they started to move and play the gongs, and I really wasn't in control, so to speak. And I wondered what that was about. And the person who had asked me to demonstrate my technique to them just said to me, well, that sounds great. There doesn't seem to be anything that I need to teach you, which I found really strange, because I'd never played gongs Well, not in this lifetime anyway. So what I realized at that moment was that something came over me, if you like, and later I understood that to be channeling, and that it was coming to me from a past life recollection. So that way back then I started to realize I had past life recall, and I literally within a couple of months I went through a transformation, and I was very aware of a Tibetan monk standing next to me, and a number of people mentioned that to me. Friends who were intuitive had mentioned to me, "Do you know you've got a Tibetan monk standing next to you now?"
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and this was me in a previous life, the Tibetan monk who played the gongs and the term in the temple was gong master. And so I called him master. He is the master of the gongs, and he was teaching me in this lifetime how to play the gongs. And so I realized after a while that he had disappeared, and I was actually embodying him during the time that I was playing. So I'm channeling, and it starts with this tingling at the crown chakra, and it dropped into my heart. And I would often say to people, that's what happens. And then I start to hear a song in my heart, and I play that on the gongs, and then and so you're basically listening to the song from my heart. And so that's how it started off for me, and that process evolved over the years into light language, into speaking words into the gongs at first, into toning into the gongs, and then the universe decided to play a really neat trick on me, because I had like 3 big gongs on 3 sides of me. It was very easy for me to hide behind the gongs and to whisper prayer and intentions, into the gongs. And so I was hiding. And one year I was in Singapore doing a workshop, and I had a whole bunch of people coming to my workshop. And I had a promoter, and I had asked her in advance to provide at least 1 gong for me, which I assumed she knew what I meant because of the discussions that we'd had beforehand. And when I arrived in Singapore and asked about the gong and had she acquired one, she said, "Oh, yes, yes." And she sort of handed me this bag, and I looked in the bag, and there was like this maybe 10-inch in diameter dinner gong on a rickety wooden stand. And I just was floored. I thought, oh goodness, what am I going to do with this? Anyway, I just, it was just before the workshop. And I thought, okay, I brought with me some ting jars and Tibetan singing bowls as well. So I arranged everything around me on the floor and readied myself for the session. And as I centered and grounded before the workshop, I asked the universe, well, I can see that you have a sense of humor, dear universe. But what would you like me to do with this? Because when I picked up the tiny little mallet and I struck the little gong, it had no resonance in it whatsoever. There was just this clunk kind of sound. And I thought, and I put it out to the universe, what would you like me to do with this? And the reply was, use your voice. Of course, I'm not a trained singer. Why would I use my voice? I'm always behind the gong. Now in this workshop, I can't hide behind a gong. I can't, I'm actually out in the open, exposed, without a gong accompaniment, being made to use my voice. So I did. I had to trust. I just centered in the heart and took a few deep breaths. And when the time came for that part, I used my voice. And I thought afterwards, well, it wasn't actually all that bad. I'm glad I didn't sing any notes out, way out there that was, harsh to the listener. And I had a lady come up to me afterwards that said, she said, I wanted to let you know that the song that you sung during the workshop was the song that I heard recently. And I said, well, where did you hear that? And she said, I was in Israel and I was in a cave with crystals, and I heard the crystals singing that song. And for me, that was a confirmation of I'm on the right track. Somebody actually recognized what I was doing. It wasn't so out there. So I thank the universe for that, and just kept trusting the next thing it gave me, the next step, the next step, the next step. And as for the listener, the listener, I always encourage to just get comfortable. And there's no hard and fast rules in my sessions. It's not you need to lay down or you need to sit or you have to have a certain position, because as I mentioned earlier, I've worked with cancer patients, and I've worked with pregnant women even, and it's not something that they can do sitting on the floor cross-legged, in the half lotus position. So I realized that sound therapy works in whatever position we take and set the intention to receive. And we're being mindful the whole time during the session of how the physical body feels. If there's resistance somewhere in the body, the sound lets them know, because there could be some discomfort in the body. And I always encourage them with the instruction in the beginning, if you're experiencing some kind of discomfort, just breathe into that area and allow it to expand, and allow the vibrations of the gongs to move through it. And so most people, some people have discomfort, especially if they have some chronic illness. But most of the time, if I'm doing sessions for people where it's, during a retreat or a workshop, then people go into meditation. Sometimes they see, some really brilliant colors. Sometimes they have visions. Sometimes people fall asleep, and for me, that is it is a great compliment, because clearly they feel safe enough in my space that I'm holding for them to fall asleep, because we don't fall asleep unless we feel safe. And so whatever your body's telling you that you need in response to the sound is what I encourage people to allow. So if it's an emotional release, if they need to spend time in nature, after the session, if they need to eat something in particular, definitely drinking lots of water after the session, and just honoring whatever it is that they need, that their body needs, or on any level, mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually.
Yeah. I really do feel strongly that what you're saying is so important and necessary for that relationship that we're trying to connect with when we're doing that healing work within ourselves. Because, like you said, you're the facilitator to do that. And I love that you said that there's no fast rules to it, and that you're really in tune with allowing the individual to kind of explore and experience and honor what it is that they're perceiving or sensing in themselves. Because oftentimes I think that people sometimes unintentionally go to a healer thinking they're going to be healed by the healer, and that's not what anyone who's in healing work knows is true. It's it is ultimately our healing that's coming from our own source, and we have that ability and power to do that within ourselves. So what would you recommend would be something that individuals should be keen on when they're starting to do that tuning into themselves? What are some of the, maybe like the top 5 things that you think that somebody, you would encourage them to be able to tap into as they go into that process?
Sure. So when it's different for everybody going into that process, and I think going on that inward journey is different. You know, if we have a daily practice of going inward, we would know that journey is not the same every day. You know, some days we have brilliant insights into what's going on in our lives. Some days we have, fantastic aha moments where the penny drops and we finally realize, oh, that's what that was about. And sometimes there's just so much emotional or mental noise going on that all we can do is just sit with that. We're living in incredibly intense times at the moment, not just in relation to the amount of chaos that's going on the planet, but the level of energy that is coming in onto the planet in support of this journey of ours. And it's really important to do that introspective time each and every day. And even if it's just for 10-15 minutes, we don't have to do hours of meditation or anything like that, because that is not necessary these days either, simply because the frequencies have changed so much since 2012 that where someone had to meditate for hours on end in the old denser energy, we can achieve the same thing in a much shorter space of time. We know that because look at how quick we're manifesting things. We're co-creating. No sooner have we had the thought than, there it is. We walk around the corner and and there it is. And it's like, whoa, I was only just thinking about that, a few hours ago. So things are happening much quicker, so we don't have to spend so long going inward. But certainly in terms of just that inward journey, finding a quiet space to be able to do that, and a time in your schedule, in your daily schedule, when you are not, you're not going to be disturbed. Or if you live in a household with others, then finding a time or letting them know that you're going to have this quiet time, and if they could be mindful of noise in the house. So just carving out that time for yourself, and also focusing on your breathing. That also helps when the mind is busy or when the emotions are running high. Focusing on the breathing helps to just settle everything down so that we become more centered and grounded. And this introspective time is also important for that very reason, because there is so much going on around us. We need to ground and center each and every day, at least once a day. So finding that quiet time, and then just allowing, there's again no hard and fast rules, because it's such an individual journey. Some people are able to focus really quickly and some are not. And it's just acceptance of what is, of how this form in this lifetime is functioning at the moment. And it's a unique time in human history as well. So it's not like there is, hard and fast rules for this, but just allowing what comes up for you, and that's fine. There's no judgment around that. Sure, the sound tracks also help. They help focus the mind and to relax more. But as much as I'm a great ambassador for sound, for sound healing, the sound therapy, I would also say that it's really great to listen and get that, allow the soundtrack to, or a guided meditation to get you into that space. But we really have to get into the habit of being reliant on ourselves. So the soundtrack or guided meditation is something outside of us that we really bring into ourselves. What, you know, this practice of centering, grounding, settling down the emotions, quietening the mind. And it takes practice. It's not going to happen in one session. It's not going to even happen maybe in a week. You know, they say it takes 21 days to create a new neural pathway in the brain, a new habit in our life. So, you know, it's a process of perseverance, really, patience, acceptance, and perseverance.
That's awesome. Maya, I really appreciated you sharing just a couple of these things about that inward journey that we take. And it's not even like we do have a choice whether we want to take it or not, but these times are bringing us to that, you know, and I'm sure everyone coming here to hear what you're having to say about sound and how it applies to this process that we do when we're looking at our well-being, all of this is still drawing us inward. That's a really important piece of what you're talking about. I know it's what you do as this sound facilitator. And the other part that I think is really important is that, you know, just in sharing even that experience of, you know, the little gong and, you know, being out and exposed, so many of us, I think, can relate to that, you know, how we may get very comfortable with some aspect of our life or something that we do really well, or even that we've developed really well, but then, you know, our evolution is continual. So it keeps on happening. We keep transforming all the time. And, you know, all of a sudden we find ourselves like, oh, we're out here in the open. Like, here is the testimony to where I am right now, you know, and we are called into that moment. So I think that that's a really important piece, and these tools that we have are really powerful to assist us and aid us, but they are not the source of how we bring this out of ourselves. They are assisting, you know, they're helpful aids. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, you mentioning that this period of time that we're in, the frequencies have changed since 2012. I don't know if everyone here is familiar with what that might imply, but I thought that maybe you could speak a little bit to that, as well as in our own chakras, the actual frequencies that have changed since 2012 as well, and what that means for us.
Sure. So back in 2012, there was a lot of stuff in the media about the end of the world and the Mayan calendar, etc. And it was the ancient Mayan prophecy that should humanity come to this time in the calendar, which we are calling 2012, then there would be a change. It would be the end of the world as we knew it. It would be a shift of some kind. And of course, we didn't know what that meant so much back then. So people were going into a lot of fear around, you know, it's going to be the end of the world. There was a whole other section of the community that was thinking that they were going to go to bed in on the 21st of December 2012 and wake up on the 22nd of December on some other planet. And as we know, that none of that has actually happened. And it was really the cycle of the planets and how our where our solar system is positioned in the galaxy, and how the galaxy moves around the central, what we call the central sun, around the center of the galaxy. In scientific terms, but we call it the central sun, how it moves around the central sun. It had completed a cycle when we became realigned once again with the central sun, and we were starting a new cycle. And it was this was the dawning of a time that we had, humanity as a collective had to make a decision and say, are we going to take the next step in our evolution and start walking this path of ascension, or are we just going to continue with more of the same? And the prophecy was that if we chose to do more of the same, we would have had World War III, and we would have self-destructed. Going on the ascension process was saying yes to all of life in the galaxy, and now all eyes are turned upon us and watching us as we take our first baby steps. And as this energy shifted for us, we are finding that time has disappeared. I don't know if many others are feeling the same, but I certainly feel that time has shifted. I no longer rely on clocks or digital devices to tell me what time it is, because it's irrelevant. Sometimes time passes quite quickly and I think, where's the day gone? And sometimes time seems to flow a lot slower. And for me, it's really a process of acknowledging more the passing of the seasons, or the passing of a day, that from going from light to dark, and what the energies feel like for me during the course of the old 24-hour period. But as these energies have shifted and changed, so have we, so has humanity, because the energy before 2012, if anyone is familiar with the Schumann resonance, was the frequency was 7.83 hertz on the planet for hundreds of years. Since 2012, the Schumann resonance has been rising, and by 2014, it was somewhere around 16 hertz. These days, it hovers somewhere between 40 and 44 hertz. I believe the last time I looked, it could be more. But every time we have an event on the planet that encourages the collective to meditate as one, which there might be instances where we meditate as one, where we're meditating for peace, whether we're meditating for healing. Whenever humanity comes together on a global scale and does these meditations, or there's an event that brings up compassion in the collective, then the Schumann resonance spikes, and it goes well over the 100 mark. So so this is telling us the frequencies on the planet have increased, and of course, as we are inextricably connected to this planet, our whole physiology is just right for the level of gravity, for the level of oxygen in the air, for the level of sunlight on the planet. This whole form that we have, physical form that we have, is completely in tune with the earth, and we are connected to an esoteric grid, which is called the Crystalline Grid, and we get information through the Crystalline Grid. So these energies, although they're coming in to the planet, they're not coming in so much directly, because if they came directly, I think we would all just fry. They come in via our sun in our solar system, and our sun is translating, if you like, stepping down these energies, translating it into a form that it sends out through solar flares to the planet. The electromagnetic field around the planet receives it and sends that to the crystalline grid, and then humans, because we're connected to the crystalline grid, we get the information, we get the light frequencies and codes. And even with all that step down, it's still so intense for some of the sensitives on the planet. So so there's this wonderful system that's working with us, that I call part of our galactic family, and that is helping us along the way on our ascension path. But yeah, definitely definitely when these influxes of energy are coming in, they're creating changes within our body. So of course, we're now moving from that 7 main chakra system, which I call the 3rd dimensional chakra system, to the 5th dimensional 12 chakra system. And so if one is ready, one can bring the 12 chakra system online. And of course, the 12 chakras hold different colors. So for example, the base chakra is no longer red in the 5th dimensional chakra system. And of course, and where it was about survival and lack and all those things that we hold in that chakra, it is now about thriving in abundance. So as the frequencies are changing on the planet, the human form is changing, our meridian system is changing, our energy center system is changing, and of course this is bringing us more and more into unity consciousness, which is more about starting with the individual and the 2 hemispheres of the brain coming together, creating neural pathways between the 2 hemispheres so that the brain functions as one. And really, by the time we end up, I know this is kind of going a bit into the future, but by the time we end up getting all our 12 chakras online and embodying all the energies that each of those centers holds now, they will actually collapse into one chakra, the heart chakra, because that's the 5th dimensional consciousness, isn't it? The heart-centered feeling and existence from the 5th dimensional frequency bandwidth.
Thank you so much. I think that helps give a really broad perspective and also tie in this piece of how it is applicable with this work that we're doing with sound. And, it's happening to us even if we're aware or not aware, because it's, I think, in this field, so to speak, we are experiencing it, what those waves are like, what that energy is like that's moving through us. And, for people that you had mentioned are sensitive, they pick it up in different ways. But I think all of us have these subtle awarenesses that creep in. Some of the times we're too busy in our mind or other places to really be able to focus in on it, but it exists and we're around it all the time. With this time that we have left, I wanted us to be able to experience a little bit of you taking us into a little bit of a quieting time, and maybe we can just spend about the next 3 minutes doing that, and then touch on a couple of more questions and answers at the end of this, allowing people to maybe ask some of the questions that have come up during this time or some that they came to ask you about.
Sure. I'm looking forward to the process. Okay, so if we could just get comfortable in our seats. I'm going to do a quick little process around the heart, which I think is very important at this point in time, because as the light frequencies increases on the planet, as the light frequencies increase within our bodies, and we're saying yes to them, there's a backlash from the energies that don't wish to see humanity on their ascension path. So this is a really great way to just to center and to become less reliant on things outside of us. So really bringing that inward, that process, and then shining, I call it shining the light outward. So let's just close our eyes and take a deep, deep breath right down into the abdomen. And then let's just exhale through the mouth. And breathing in through the nose. Right down into the abdomen again. Nice, deep, cleansing breath. and then releasing it out through the mouth. One more time, a deep breath in, just noticing how your body feels. And exhaling, and just getting into your natural rhythm of breathing, but still focusing on those deep, deep breaths. Just breathing in your own natural rhythm of breathing. I'm just going to speak some light language that's coming in. And as I'm speaking the light language, I'd like you to breathe it in with your breath and bring it into your heart center. So here we go. Koraina au hai kushehi aino makuai ai korate shuhum pa ku ah no marina tu she ha u ain kuai. And just take a deep breath into that. Te rahia na a kua he e shukum ma a au ka e arukui tu haha e numi a kuai ti shi ha ore aun. And just breathe that into your heart center. And just notice what's going on in your heart center as you're bringing those light codes and frequencies in, and you're bringing your focus into that part of yourself. And just feel it slowly beginning to expand as you continue to breathe into that center. Allow it to expand throughout your whole body. Feel it right down in your toes, in the ends of your fingers, and all the way to the top of your head. And then allow it to continue to expand beyond your physical form into your field. And you may see colors, or you may just feel it. Whatever is going on for you is right for you. And allow this energy to fill your field. It's almost like you're creating this bubble of your heart energy around you. And really, if anyone is familiar with the torus field around us, this is what we're putting out into the torus field. The torus field starts with the heart center, goes up, down, around, and below our feet, and then up again. It's all 360 degrees around us. So we're filling our torus field with our heart energy consciously, as we've been doing it unconsciously for the longest time. Now we're doing it consciously, and it really puts a lot of energy into that field and in stabilizing your heart energy, which is your light, the place of your light. Just feel what it feels like to have that energy around you, moving, swirling, but it's you. There is nothing more powerful than your light. It is the energy that is generated by the divine spark that resides within you. And there is nothing more powerful than the divine energy of creation. And just take a deep breath into all of that. Noticing how you're feeling now. Kwaria na'a, humpakia na'a, turekora, tune a, heshe eun. And just take another deep breath, allowing those light codes and frequencies to permeate your field, to permeate your physical being, to permeate every cell in your body. And as you take another deep breath, prepare to open your eyes and become fully present once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maya. Thank you all for that moment that we had there together. I wanted to have an opportunity for people to unmute themselves, put on their cameras, and if you are inclined to ask a question, this is a good time. If you want to put it in the chat box, you can do that as well, and we'll try to get to them in these last few minutes before we do our closure. Thank you again. Does anyone have anything that they would like to ask Maya at this time?
Hi, Esperanza. This is T.
Hi, T.
Hey. So I just have a quick question for you, Maya.
Sure.
Can you hear me? And I just want to say thank you for the experience as well.
You're so very welcome, T. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, yes. I'm definitely going to do more research regarding this type of therapy. But it's very, very interesting. So this is my question for you. I just want to know, what language was you speaking? I'm just curious. Or was that just coming from you naturally?
Okay, so I speak light language. I speak several light languages. And light language, lots of people on the planet now are being activated to speak light language. And what we're realizing is that many of us are speaking different dialects of light language. And so that's I channel the light language. It's just coming from the light frequencies, and I'm translating it into sounds. Light language is actually the language of the heart. So when I'm speaking to somebody else speaking light language, I don't actually listen to the words. It's not like somebody is speaking German or Italian or French and I need to know the language. I need to know what the words mean. The light language is a multi-dimensional, fifth-dimensional language. So we drop into the heart center and we listen with the heart. And we can, if we ask, and I was told a long time ago that, oh no, you can't translate light language, but I know that not to be true, because I can ask for the translation and it'll give me the translation in English. So we're listening with the heart, and when we listen with the heart, we can get the translation come through. We just center, ask for the translation, and it'll come to you. And anyone who is speaking light language, it needs to be speaking about positive things. So if you're feeling somebody's not speaking things that are of high frequency, then you know they're not speaking light language, because light language is a high frequency is a high frequency language that we all understand through the heart. And this is where we're going into the fifth dimensional consciousness, where we're going more into heart-based living, more heart-based existence, and we'll be expressing ourselves in many different ways, not necessarily you know, in English or Italian or German or French. But and when I just accepted it when light language first came through. I just accepted it that was light language. I didn't worry about where it came from, or where the origins of my particular dialect was. But someone did mention to me that I'm speaking Lyran from the constellation Lyra. So that was the primary language that came through for me. But then since then, I've been able to speak several different light languages, dialects of light language, including elemental. So I think the more that we open up, the more we have coming in to receive, and the more we can anchor those frequencies on the planet to be able to share with others and to assist them on their journey.
You know, Maya, I think what's really interesting for me is that I think when you and I first connected, I was explaining to you that I had been for probably really strongly the last year, but probably for the last 2 years, have been really, something has been speaking to me about learning the language of the elements again, of earth and water, fire, and air. And it wasn't something that I was thinking. And it's also something that, like, inside of me knows I already know some of that. And we have to remember that, you know, our modern day civilization is pretty young, you know, and that there was a whole lot of life that was happening before this industrialized time that we came to be in, and all these kinds of things. And so many indigenous people and people that we have known now historically to be medicine men and women that existed, or even cultures that existed more harmoniously, were just more adept and in tune, and had these opportunities and abilities to speak and communicate in these ways, in language that isn't like what we're doing right now in words. And I just was doing a live the other day, and I never know what exactly is going to come to the live, because I just open myself up to receive what that meaningful moment is that I'm sharing, and trusting that it connects in some form or way with others. And what came was just this idea of all this silent communication, all these things that we have been communicating, whether it's in words or not in words, you know. And so to me, all of this is so congruent with what is the next steps of our evolution. Many of us are being called, or already experiencing, the ways we're communicating in this realm, but also in this invisible realm that we're also perceiving into now. And so that's part of this transition that we're going over, from this more three-dimensional way that we've been living into more dimensions of our own self. And so this is a really beautiful time, because I think if we become aware of so many individuals, so many life forms all over this planet and beyond, that we are now making more connections with, and that, you know, I can speak to you across the world, and suddenly we're speaking about some of the same things. How did I know that you knew that, or that you knew that I knew what, you know? It just, these things are happening more and more all the time. And so it's important that we, you know, we give our attention to that. And then, like everything, we have that choice of trusting, or maybe there's still some pieces that we're journeying through to, you know, become aware of what those resistances are, and, you know, somehow, until it no longer serves us and we move to the next step. you know, and then we move into something that is more harmonious with where our consciousness is expanding to. So I love this, the way you shared that and the way you're so open and trusting. I think that that can serve to allow for many individuals to be more courageous on their journey, because we're coming more and more into this time of that calling for every one of us, every single one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to see here something. Playing gongs would be very, very great. So I wanted to share that because Maya is going to be sharing that with us. And I also will be participating in a 2-hour workshop coming up. I put it into the chat. That is coming up on June 17th, Transformations, Healing with Sound and Fire. And with that workshop, we'll be deepening this healing experience, practical tools that we can incorporate daily, but more specific, we'll be having an opportunity. You'll be hearing my chime back there in the background, but you'll be also being able to experience some of that gong facilitation, that sound facilitation that Maya will be offering, as well as fire ceremonies and working with elements. So we're really going to be tapping into those energies as well for those of us that are ready to embark on that part of journey with healing. And I wanted to give you more information about that. You can go over to pureesperanza.org and look at the Experience Us page. There's already a description on there and what you'll be receiving, because there's several gifts with that as well. And we just want to be able to share that with you. And this part that you had talked about, expanding into the field, Maya, from the shaman perspective, we see that as the Viracocha, which is the luminous body that is the bubble, the 360 bubble all around us. So many, many names for it, many traditions, many modalities, speaking all about these very same similar premises that we work with this dimensional being that we are.
Yeah.
And that's what's this beautiful part of it. So I wanted to make sure that you know, you're able to come and experience that for those of you that have interest and want to go deeper into it and experience those kinds of sound baths that Maya will be offering us as well. And for those of you who are signing up for that, there's going to be a free gong soundtrack that we're going to be sending over your way as well. And there'll be some other free pieces to that as well. So just go there and you can see on Experience Us at pureesperanza.org and go to that Transformations, Healing with Sound and Fire on June 17th. It'll be a 2-hour workshop. There's so much you're going to get out of that. It's a lot of very potent work that you'll be doing during that time with us. Any other questions that you might have for Maya? I think you covered so much tonight, Maya.
Yeah. So if anyone has any last minute questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, T. And feel free to reach out afterwards too. You can reach to me. I can always send Maya a question if something is pressing for you. And we're always around. I know that Maya, you have a handle on Instagram and some of the other social media platforms. Would you like to share with everyone what those are?
Oh, sure. You can find me on Facebook just under Maya Boston. I'm also at Maya Boston on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Yeah, I'm out there.
Same here same here with Pure Esperanza, and you can find us on all of those, and daily also offering heart and sharing from that place for all of us on this courageous journey that we're all in right now, and dreaming this world that we are very awake and dreaming into being right now, all together here tonight. Thank you so very much for being here. Thank you, Maya, again, for all your wisdom, all your beautiful heart energy flowing out, and for each and every one of you, blessings on that journey. And we look to see you again here soon. Every month, we also have some weaving stories into your well-being that are coming up. Those are free events in storytelling form with all kinds of different parts of well-being and for your journey, and always bringing this back into your own unique experience, which we honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Blessings.
for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.